and welcome to this episode of Pause with Nandini. Today I have an unusual guest. I know we're very used to having actors and activists and filmmakers and social justice warriors here. Today I've got someone who's very much entrenched in business and the world of entrepreneurship and mentorship. So I look forward to a very interesting conversation. Let me get right into it and introduce our next guest, who is Ravijeet Dang. He's the Managing Director of Iotasol. Iotasol, I had to look up what that name meant, and apparently it's an amalgamation of imagination and solutions, right? So this is very interesting to talk about imagination and creativity in a business space. Ravijeet, also believes in creating social impact through technology and community engagement. As I have been led to believe, you have been instrumental in fostering creative learning, connecting individuals with their roots by planning an educational institute in line with the Gurukul system. That's quite interesting. And actively participating in community welfare through initiatives like Startup Victoria, which I think is a great initiative, one-on-one mentoring, quarterly donations, offering free workshops for various events, and supporting the startup ecosystem in general. You've also played a significant role in transforming interns into full-time professionals, and I think that's a bridge that's not always easy to cross.
It is
and for
not.
young people to have a mentor like you must be invaluable. So thank you and welcome to our show.
Thank you, Nandini. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. So from what I gather, you've done a bunch of different things in your life that have led you to this. And I think that's very typical of entrepreneurs and the startup ecosystem, that people come to it from very different places. So I'd love to know what your journey has been.
All right. So my journey was not typical that you study in India, then you go abroad and study more and then get a job sort of a thing. My study was a little bit different in sense I did my engineering in India and then I was like, my school can only teach me so much, right? So I have to do some learning outside. So I started doing some learning, started doing freelancing work while I was still in uni. And actually got lucky. It's a very there is a chance that you actually get and you have to just take that step and take that chance. So I got an opportunity that I was freelancing for a company that is based out of Sweden, and they said that we like your work. Do you want to work full time for us? And I was like, yeah, why not? I was supposed to join Infosys from like the campus placements and stuff, but then I was like, yeah, there's another job opportunity I have. Initially, I thought that they would be putting me in their Delhi office. They had an office in Delhi. Um, but they said, okay, send us your passport. I'm like, why do you need my passport? They're like, oh, we'll apply for the visa for you to come to Sweden. I'm like, okay, I don't have a passport. Like,
May I just interrupt you and ask you, what had you studied?
okay, so I studied computer engineering.
All right.
I studied computer science engineering and basically focusing on software development entirely.
Got it.
So, you might have seen that PK movie that people study something and then they go and do an MBA and then they are running and doing financial stuff. I'm still in computer software development, exactly what I studied. I did do an MBA, but that is more for taking a next step in the career to
Sure.
actually start into looking into business rather than just being an employee.
Sure.
So the idea was I did that freelance work. So that was that where the entrepreneurship started. Like obviously it is a lot of people these days want to be their own bosses, and that is a good thing because that's exactly the more businesses there are, the economy does better, there is more buying capacity and everything. So I really believe in that journey, and I think I started thinking about it at a very early age because I come from a business family. My father is a self-made man. He's moved to the north of India after 1984 riots. I was just born then in 84. I don't know the struggle that they went through, but he created his own life in the north. He created his own business and everything. So I was like always interested in that sort of a thing. That's where that freelancing spirit came as well. That why am I not applying what I'm studying? So that's where I started doing the freelancing and got that opportunity with Swedish company. And 2005 is when I was doing a project for them, and 2006 I was in Stockholm. So in 2006 I moved to Sweden and worked for them for a year. Couldn't take the weather. A beautiful place, but with very bad weather.
And
Uh,
the food?
Food was not major challenge because obviously I sort of eat everything. So it was not like a big drastic change, but culturally it was very different.
For
Uh,
sure.
and I was 21 years of age, so it was very difficult for me to understand how to get integrated into the society. I could only make friends with other foreign nationals, but local Swedish people is very difficult to break in because you have that language barrier and so on. So yes, I had some friends at workplace, but then they have their own life, so you can't really, and they're older than you, so you are like a fresh grad, and they're all mature engineers that are working there. So it's very difficult to get involved with their lives. But yes, because I got that opportunity to go there, now I had other opportunities to continue looking at how rest of the European market functions and what are they doing. So I started continue my freelancing because when it snows in Sweden, you just don't do anything else. You just sit inside and do things that you can do inside your home. Obviously, at that time, I'm talking about the time when the internet was still powerful, but you have to pay a lot of fees to get a good TV connection, and especially there is no Netflix. I'm talking about times when Facebook didn't exist. So I spent my time mostly looking at freelance jobs, and I did another freelance work for DHL in Belgium. So they needed software that internally that they were trying to build, but it was not happening. So they outsourced it on the freelance website. And basically, I picked it up and I said, I can do it. I did it for them in a few weeks' time, and they said, "Oh, this is great, and can you come and give us a demo?" Like they sent me a flight ticket. I went to Brussels in the European headquarters, and I gave them a demo, and it worked 100%. And they were like, "Oh, this is great. Would you like to work here and actually do implementation of this software across Europe?" And I'm like, "Okay." That was another job opportunity, and then I moved from Sweden to Belgium with DHL. Did that implementation for them, then ended up doing a lot of other things for DHL, which they're still using. So when it comes down to if you receive a DHL parcel and you have a sticker with a lot of barcodes on it, I designed the airway bill that they still use. I was involved heavily with the core application called the Global Courier application, which all the people that are carrying their mobile devices when they're doing deliveries. So I was involved heavily in buying those devices. Now they have obviously, I bought them in 2007. They can't continue using them, so they have already matured up. But they've changed those devices, but they're still using the core application that I designed. So did some work with them on those things and got headhunted by FIFA to run the store.fifa.com for the World Cup 2010. So I'm talking about doing e-commerce when Amazon was still selling only books and Facebook had not started making money, and I'm doing e-commerce selling merchandise online. And
Wow.
that's we made $4.5 million in the store operation for the World Cup 2010. So I set up the supply chain, I set up the websites, how deliveries will happen. I remember buying the SSL certificate, which people take for granted for $100 a year these days. I bought it for $15,000, and they were only like one company that used to sell an SSL certificate, Verisign, which is now the underlying company that sells it to everybody. But they're cheap now, right? So there are things working with big brands and everything, and I was doing stuff that would be really appreciated by small business, and that's when I got in touch with my old roommate. He was on the journey of leaving Infosys and starting Iotasol. So he's the one who created Iotasol. It's his brainchild that he named the company. And he got in touch with me. What are you doing? Send me some leads from wherever you are. And at that time, I was based in Singapore. So from Belgium, I moved to Singapore with FIFA. And I said, okay, I can help you. But I did not get involved officially with the business in 2010. So he started setting up the team. I sent him a few leads here and there. There was no formal engagements and stuff. But we were roommates, so we were buddies. We knew each other very well. And then finally in 2014, I got my permanent residency in Australia. And when I was actually planning to make a move, we had a proper chat, and he said, why don't you go and grow this business in Australia? And I'm like, yeah, that's fine. I will definitely step onto that role. Obviously, I want to take that step of entrepreneurship 100% full time. And after my FIFA gig, I joined Xerox, did solution development for them, product development for Xerox as well, and then implemented the products that I've built in Xerox time to a lot of customers. So I was traveling a lot to Australia and rest of Southeast Asia. And at that time, it was something like Australia is a great place to actually go and live in and build some solid connections here. I love, and this is a very important advice for everybody out there, that when you come to a new country, the only way you can actually grow is by going out and networking. You have to be out there and meeting people. You have to be out there building as much credibility by knowing who is who. Your network is determining your net worth. That is what I believe in, right? So I was always networking whenever I would be in Australia. And when Yash and I got thought about bringing Iotasol to Australia, I had some people that I can already reach out. And 2016, when I officially moved, set up the company here, we started getting clients in the first month, right? So that was a good way of looking at it. And then we have not looked back. When I moved here, we were about 20 something people. Now we are 150 plus people. So our team has been growing almost 6 to 7 times in the last 6 to 7 years. And team in Australia has been set up. And I always wanted to give this chance to the fresh grads, like the people that are still studying. They don't, like, a lot of people say, hey, what's your Australian experience like? I'm like, well, I don't ask this question to people. Obviously, you want to get somebody in that is smart, and you can only understand when they're smart if you work with them. And so instead of like going out and hiring professionals that have already worked a few years and they want to do something, and they want to move from one job to the other. I said, okay, we will basically hire interns. I will work with them for 2 to 3 months and understand what they are capable of. If they are capable of one thing, then we will push them towards that thing and then grow them or nurture them. So every employee that I have got in Iotasol here in Australia, they actually started as an intern. And once they complete their internship, if they're capable, and we recognize that by giving them continuous feedback, by making sure that they are learning continuously and then they're evolving continuously. In 3 months' time, you can actually change quite a lot of your behavior patterns. You can learn, and you can actually implement good things in your business, in your own working style that a business will appreciate. And I've converted people full time based on that. Like when I see that they can actually learn and they can actually grow.
It's I feel like there's a component of right time, right place, right opportunity that came your way, and you
Yeah,
managed to make that first trip. But equally, there's also so much that really depends on you and how you can drive and sort of give shape to your own dreams and your
yeah,
own ambitions. And one of the things that comes out is like sort of grasping opportunities as they come and not second guessing things that come your way. But the other part of that is also to have a really good grounding in doing what you do well. So
yeah,
for you, you stayed true to your core competency, and I do believe that now, sometimes, the messaging is quite confused for young people.
yeah,
You can do whatever you want.
yeah,
Go out there and have an organic farm and, and raise, crops. And,
yeah,
or the next thing is like, oh, you can have like an eco village where you just go live with your friends. And
yeah,
so, there's that kind of, you can do whatever you want, but at the same time, the grind that you have to go through to get really good at something and become valuable to other companies, like you became valuable, comes from, like, for an artist, it's honing your craft. And for someone like you, it's actually putting in the hours to study and do and
Yeah,
understand your line of work. So,
exactly. You have to be in my industry. You can always say that you have to be master of. You have to be jack of all trades, but master of one, right? So if it is comes to
mm,
yes, you can be whatever you want, right? You can be jack of all trades, but you need to know one thing that you're good at, right? And that's where you can always think that this is my
yes,
craft, this is what I want to do. And then that will allow you to be jack of all
yes.
trades. You can apply that skill to every industry, you can apply that skill to any business, you can apply that skill to any part of your life.
No, absolutely. And the thing also that struck me is that, look, you enjoy obviously doing software, and you
Yeah.
build things and you create things and you create solutions. Then someone tells you, all right, now you go in somewhere and you build a market, right? That requires a different set of skills,
Yeah.
where you have to network and you have to grow and you have to understand money and you have to understand finance and so you have to have some idea of these very maybe different worlds. And the thing is, not everybody is capable of juggling different worlds like you are. So I think a lot of it also comes down to your own natural ability.
Yeah, natural ability, but yes, there was one thing that I sort of missed in that whole part that I actually ended up while I was studying in Xerox, I did my executive MBA
Ah, yes.
from Manchester Business School. So yes, just for a step up sort of a thing, or the ideas that I was having at that time that okay, great, I have a full-time job, but I that's not satisfying or fulfilling for me. I'm
Yes.
getting paid pretty decently well. I'm living in a good country. I'm living in a good spot, but I want to change. Like there is something which is not fulfilling me. So I initially that there were two thought processes. Oh, maybe I need to move out of Singapore, right? And that's when I
Mm.
applied for my PR in Australia, thinking that it will take 2 years to come, right? Because you never know, it can take forever. Um, and second thought process was let's do an MBA and see maybe I'll be able to build that startup I wanted to do, or maybe I'll find my co-founders and build a startup, or maybe I will learn the skills that people say MBA gives you, or maybe I'll get a better job, right? So there are a few plan A, plan B, plan C. So plan A, let's do an MBA, improve the profile in Singapore and continue living in Singapore. Plan B, start a startup with a friend who you will meet in Singapore. Plan C, move out of
Yes.
Singapore, right? And you have to have, you can't keep all your eggs in one basket. That this is what I will do forever, right? You have to have
Yes.
plans. You have to keep juggling, right? You have to be a hustler. And
Mindsets change. That mindsets change where you get one job and then you just stick with that job and you retire when you get the watch, and
yeah,
that
yeah,
time is done.
yeah, that time is done. That time is over now. So you have to have multiple pathways that you should be able to choose, and um, it should be in a way you obviously there are a lot of thought process in there that oh how will I change, right? It's a very simple thing that I learned very early in my life is that if there is a problem, I can fix it. Why bother? I cannot fix it. Why bother? It will be a problem. It will be there forever, right? So that's where the
That's
planning mind or planning process comes, right? That you need to keep options open. You need to be open to change, right? And that's where
exactly.
that MBA actually taught me those skills on how I should go out, network, how
Yes.
I should go out. Not from the subjects I studied. I think the only subject that I use right now that I studied was marketing and accounting, right?
Mm,
Because those were the two core subjects that did not exist when I did my engineering.
sure. Yes.
Yeah, marketing and accounting is what I use on a daily basis, right?
Right. And this is what I was saying, that, you need different skill sets, and you have to be able to recognize early on what is the learning that you need. This is continuous
It is.
study,
It
continuous
is.
growth.
Yeah.
and to be open to, and there's a certain humility as well that you need to recognize that, look, I don't know everything. So
Yeah. And that's when you hire smarter people than you, and then they will do what
yes,
you need help with.
yes.
Right.
Tell me something now, as NRI Affairs, we kind of cover a lot of obviously the diaspora, and we get into conversations where we talk about how diversity can be an asset.
Yeah.
The fact that you've come from different experiences. Now, you've had, I would say a very diverse experience in dealing with different people, different work cultures. How has that helped you, do you think, in your work?
So first thing of all this world travel and stuff has made me sensitive to cultures, right? There are cultural biases that everybody has. Even living in Melbourne, which is a multicultural city, you will see that there is an amalgamation of a lot of people, and everybody does things in a different way with their cultural biases. So you sort of become soft, right? You have your own cultural bias. You never impose your cultural bias to other people. So you actually learn that by living in different countries, that I can't impose my cultural bias on other people, that this is how I do things and this is how you should do things. And the other thing is you also become sensitive to the different way of thinking of people. And that basically makes it very easy for you to become friends with them. And once you become friends with them, you can do business with them, you can hang out with them, you can do social activities, you can do other activities. It makes it easy for them to refer business to you as well. Like, I have a friend who would love to work with you because I love working with you, right?
Yes.
Um, the other things that I would say is you sort of start understanding um, how to actually, like, obviously my experience is not cultural focused only. My experience is also business focused. So I've actually worked in software development businesses. I've worked in logistic businesses. I've worked in e-commerce. I've worked in printing or digital transformation businesses. So I've actually brought that learning from the big businesses, and I'm also offering those to small businesses. So when it comes to our internal practices, like how will we do project management? Oh, I learned amazing things in Xerox on how to do project management. So those are the things that we have implemented in Iotasol in Australia, and that's the project management methodology we use. Um, and obviously that is what I train my employees or staff members with, so that they understand that this is a great methodology that I can learn and I can go and transfer it to other companies.
So
People
it's
have been
cross-cultural learning, cross-organizational learning that you can actually implement. And that's
exactly.
a great thing. If while you're young, when you're a sponge,
Yeah,
if you worked in different companies, some things you never forget,
yeah,
then you can use those.
you can improve on those and use those.
Yes, of course, and kind of adapt to
Yes.
your environment. And it's quite remarkable. I think you wear your success quite lightly because some of the things you said you've done are quite remarkable. In as a young person, you get to do this crazy thing for FIFA, and you design something for DHL, and it seems like you've had some really big successes early. Have you also had any remarkable failures that have taught you, right, so that's not how it works?
Yeah, well, without failures, you can't be defined, right? But failures, I would say you're always thinking when you're on a path, you're always thinking this path is right? And then you end up hitting a wall and you're like, no, this is not what is happening, right? Obviously, when I was in Sweden, I thought when I go to Sweden, I would live in Sweden forever. It will be amazing place. I've heard so much about it. Um, but then you don't do your research on, like, how will I make friends? How will I do, like, I did not know how to culturally go and learn and become friends with them, right?
Hmm.
So I would say I was a tremendous failure in socially connecting to people in Sweden. It's a beautiful place. I loved it. That's where I learned that no, whenever I will go or wherever I will go next, that is not something that I will. That is something definitely I will change. So I definitely changed that in Belgium, and I became more culturally sensitive for understanding, doing things that other people around me would be doing. Um, and I opened up a little bit. So, but obviously, I would have loved to stay in Belgium and not leave, but then, you get the job, you decide that you want to go somewhere else. So it was more of a job movement. But once I moved to Singapore at that time, I lived in Singapore for 7 years. I think my mistake was I spent too much time in that country. It could have been shorter. So my failure was not to recognize that this is not the place for me to stay longer. Was something that, yes, I was going through life, but then I could have made the decision of moving to other place sooner, because I was feeling dragged down in Singapore. Like, obviously, restrictions with visa, restrictions with permanent residency, other things gives you that, takes a mental toll out of you, right? That you
Yes, yes,
like, and completely understand what the international student community feels out here, that, oh, what will happen to our PR, what will happen to our visa if
yes,
we get a job.
exactly.
Because I've been through that struggle, but not in Australia. I've been through that struggle in Singapore, but for me it was more like, yes, I have a job, I'm getting paid, but I don't feel satisfied, because I don't call this place as home, because this country is not accepting me, right? This
Yes,
country is not accepting me, and I was like, why am I still struggling through life here? I made a mistake, or it was failure on my part, that not to realize that I have to leave early.
yes. Sometimes it's the momentum of your life kind of it just carries on in that way, and then
Yeah,
you sometimes need to have either people in your life to tell you, look, you got to do something,
yeah,
or that self-realization. But that's really good wisdom for young people
yeah,
to, they say you're not a tree, you can move.
yeah.
So
Yeah, and a
don't.
lot of people are struggling. Like, I will do another course and I will extend my visa, but I want to stay here. Why? Right? There are so many other opportunities out there. There are so many opportunities in India nowadays, right?
Yes, let's
Um,
talk a little bit about that.
yeah,
Do you feel sometimes, why don't I go to India and do something there? The startup ecosystem so exciting. There's a lot happening, and there's so many problems that need people, intelligent people, to go and solve. And maybe some of those problems can be solved to a large extent through technology.
yeah. So, directly or indirectly, I contribute tremendously to that Indian side of things, right? Obviously, majority of our employees are based in India, right? So technically, we are sort of running that
Continue.
company.
Yeah.
Majority of the businesses back in India, and we're supporting them financially. There are a lot of opportunities. The thing with India is the opportunities will continue to grow, right? I'm saying that it's a $10 trillion economy. In the next 7 to 8 years, we will be looking at it will be doubling in the economy size, right? Because everybody is just super hungry. Is it competitive? Very competitive. India has always been competitive. When I did my engineering, it was very competitive. 250,000 people did the AI triple E with me, and then there are people struggling on how to get a rank and get a good engineering school and so on, right? And that is still part of the Indian side of things. Yes, you can network out there as well. There are so many opportunities that you can network. You can get a great job. You can find a co-founder. Again, if you are good with one skill, you can find another person who's good with the another other skill. Both of you combined can be jack of multiple things, and be good on those one skills, and basically build a startup.
I want to ask you this. Do you think it's good to sort of fail fast, fail early, and start being an entrepreneur when you're younger? Or do you think it's worth getting experience across various companies, learning things as you did, and then kind of wait till you've got all of that in the bag and then be an entrepreneur? Or do you learn along the way?
See, that's a very, I have seen people that have actually started their own businesses without doing anything, without working for anybody, and they have been successful. I have seen people that have started their businesses without having prior experience and have failed. So um, it's again, you have to be in the right place, right time. There is I believe in that right place, right time sort of a thing. Uh, but in my opinion, having past experience has always been beneficial, right? Especially in the trade I am, the past experience I've had, using that past experience to guide the startup ecosystem in a good way. The past experience I've had, whether working for a multinational company, thinking about starting a business, all those things, they all have a factor in designing the way you think and you take it forward from there, right?
Yes, yes, for sure.
Yeah. So that is my opinion. If you want to get experience from out there, and then use that experience and implement that in your business.
What has been your experience with the Indian community you're in Melbourne? So, do you have an opportunity to interact with young people from the Indian community who might be straddling two worlds,
Yeah.
because they might be first generation, like they might be the first generation here who are more Australian than perhaps Indian.
Yeah.
And at the same time, of course, there are connections and there are roots. How do you sort of feel in terms of work and in terms of entrepreneurship? How is the young Indian diaspora thinking? I know it's a general question, but
Yeah.
just your experience.
Majority of my interaction has been with young Indian students that have recently arrived here. So not even first generation. They have
Wow. Okay.
just landed into unis and stuff, and they're working. So we are actually working with RMIT Business School right now, and we will be doing. We've given them a project. The student community will basically do that project for Iotasol. So
All right.
it is going to be taught in marketing for managers, and I was told that there is 150 the class size is 150, and 150 students are from India. So like 150 MBA students from India. I'm like, great, that would be some interesting experience. So the other side of things, I've not had really a lot of first generation Indian people that I've interacted with. Majority, I would say, if I have had a few, one or two interactions, they are trying to build their own startups. They are only people that are actually out there working on building their own startups. The other first generation Indians that I would say they are actually going out and getting jobs. They're actually more towards like very similar to what their parents did. My father worked in a bank and I want to go work in
Yes.
a bank. My father worked in that industry. I want to go work in that industry. So they are actually more aligned towards at this stage. That's my feeling that the first generation Indians are going out and scoring jobs. Their parents are from that point of view that, oh, you need to study. Study is important, right? But and I've seen my friends who have kids, they also emphasize on education a lot, but they also do other activities with them that, hey, go look at, there is a coin exhibition, you should look at coins. There is a stamp exhibition, you should look at stamps. You should definitely participate in a sport. There, and again, it comes to, like, for example, I have a young kid, I would give him options. Go play tennis, go play cricket,
Sure. Yes.
go out there, look at this coin collection, because I have a coin collection. So I will try to get him interested in coin collection. Why not? Let's play video games, right? Let's play video games. Let's play backyard cricket, everything. Why not, right?
Tell
Uh,
me something with software, right? The world is changing so quickly.
yeah.
Yeah. And I can't even keep across all the different opportunities. What do you think? Like, what is exciting for you in terms of the new frontier for software? I mean, I loved how when you told me your journey, you kind of situated it like Facebook nahi tha, ye nahi tha, Netflix nahi tha. So what is the next frontier that's exciting for people in software?
Everybody's talking about it. It's AI, right? So we are doing a lot of work in emerging technologies. Emerging technologies, not specifically to AI. Like AI is, we interact with Chat GPT. Everybody has used a Chat GPT account now. Everybody has a Chat GPT account, and then there are other things happening with AI space as well, right? But in industry, AI will be used in a different way, right? So we are actually working with a mattress manufacturer. and using computer vision to identify defects on the manufacturing line on that mattress without a human being, right? So you look at that, there's a real-time camera, the mattress comes out, we can even see there is no thread coming out of that using computer vision. So it has been trained using AI and it is learning, it is adapting, because if the computer makes a mistake, oh, this mattress is defected, it goes to the defect line, and then a human goes out and inspects it. It says, no, it is perfectly fine. We will tell the person who went out that this is the defect, and they will say, no, this defect was not identified, maybe you saw something else, and they will retrain that program to understand that image better. So next time it will not push that mattress down the reject chute, right? So obviously they have reduced their staff. This is where the real staff replacement of AI is going to be on the mattress. Like now again, there are staff members that are used to even check the levels of bottles being filled, and we can apply computer vision in there to actually figure out that the bottles have been filled in the right level. There are no defects in the bottles, or again, FMCG is a great place where we can implement computer vision.
Oh.
We are working with a solar company based out of Perth. They actually manufacture transparent glasses which are solar panels, and that can go on to facade of every building, right? And we are doing end-to-end. We are working on a project that we will allow them to do end-to-end tracking of where did this particular panel got installed in this high-rise building, so they can actually provide services to people. So that's going to be IoT sort of an implementation. We are working in development of chatbots that will find risks in businesses, even chatbots that will allow you to find, let's say you want to do a marketing campaign and you're looking for an Instagram influencer. You just give your brief of your marketing campaign to this chatbot. It will actually go find the Instagram influencer that will fit that brief 100%, and even do the communication for you as a business, that this business wants to hire you for this campaign. Would you be interested? This is the budget.
So, if now I'm going to ask you a question as a poet and a writer and an artist, and from that side of the world.
Yeah.
If your software is going to do everything for people, what are the people going to do? And now you have to learn how to do software.
No,
to find out.
this is a very philosophical question, and I will give you a philosophical answer. You will
Please.
have more time to do other things, right? You will have there are the AI can write a poem, but then that poem is going to be very easily identifiable that it is written by AI, right? It can mimic you, but it can't be you, right? So I can ask AI to create a painting of a particular thing in the format of Picasso. So it knows what the brushstrokes of Picasso are, what it has
Yes,
learned from the images and so on, and it
yes,
will create that image. But it won't be able to create a new format of painting. It won't be able to, and that's what the humans will be doing. So the humans will not be replaced by AI in that creative genre, because they will be able to do better things, uh,
sure.
and not do the repetitive tasks that
Um,
don't need
and
to do.
I think this is true for any new technology, right? Jobs. What I meant was more from the point of view of jobs and work and things. Of course, we joke that in India, there'll be a person whose job is to be a lift man who's only sitting in front of the lift, opening the door and shutting the door.
Yeah,
Right. So, it's are you really living up to your greatest potential in doing jobs which don't need
yeah,
all of you, or can be automated in that way. But obviously then this means that there are going to be new jobs of the future, and
exactly.
the jobs that were there are no longer going to exist, like that man who had to look at the mattress physically, or that woman and say, look, there's a defect, no longer has that job, because
Yeah,
there's a software that's going to do that job.
yeah,
And so then leading on from there, as you also believe in technology being a force for good in some
yeah.
ways, and leading social change, and being able to make social impact, in what way do you feel like technology can then solve problems of the world? And as sometimes it seems like we're talking about two different Indias, because there is a whole population of India that believes it's, it's the future and everything's happening and it's also great. But if you look at the hunger index, we are still
Yep.
so low. We
Yeah.
have such high rates of childhood mortality. We have such poor sanitation. We don't have healthcare. So, there are enormous challenges for our beautiful, enormous country.
Yeah.
So, how do you feel like there are spaces in which technology can solve problems and make human life better in that way?
Yeah. Well, see, I feel the biggest impact technology should have and should be used for is in education space.
Okay.
Not um, not just like there's an iPad, now you go and do your course on an iPad. That's not technology enablement, right? It's and again, this is Yash, my business partner's his idea that, like, if we look at the whole um, education system, there is, like, I crammed my stuff, I vomited on my papers and I passed, right?
Yes.
I was good in cramming and I was good in storytelling, and I would give me a topic, I will talk about it forever, kind of a person, right? So the key thing is debate. Key thing is logical questioning and logical reasoning and logical answering. And that is exactly what software development is: logical questioning, logical reasoning, and logical answering. That is what how AI has been built. Like, that's the core of machine learning, that you have so much data. If I ask you a question, use that data to generate a logical response to that question, right? But it takes a little bit of time and effort to actually build that capability. But if we start young, right? Now, the problem
Mm.
that you talked about, the sanitation side of things and so on, you see the education system out here in Australia. Actually, the teachers out there train the students that you should be a responsible citizen, and when you are crossing the road,
Yes.
you should go to the zebra crossing and cross the road, right?
Civic sense, all these things, these
All these
basic.
things, right? In India, we are still teaching our kids math, science, and other things. But there are schools like even I was looking at one or two schools recently. They are actually talking about the civic sense, and they are talking about Swachh Bharat. They are talking about other things. So kids have started asking parents that question: Why are you opening that window and throwing that chips packet outside?
Yes, yes.
Why can't we have a little dustbin? We have such a big car. Why can't we have a little dustbin in the car and we throw everything? And when we get out of the car, we can throw it
We
in a
throw
dustbin.
it.
So
Change comes from young people, no? Comes
change
from.
comes from young people, and obviously the whole Macaulay system of education that was brought into India to make a labor class needs to be removed 100%, right? So this NCERT and that CBSC and all these board systems need to be taken out, and a new system needs to be implemented where people are being judged about their civic sense. People are being judged about their logical reasoning and their
Right.
debates, and they're getting together and having a discussion about a topic, and not positive and negative groups. Let's just talk positively about this thing and how to find solutions for a problem.
Yes, yes.
That is what will change India, right? And as we have a young population, it can be done at this whole discussion can be done at any age, right? So the idea that Yash brought about the Gurukul system is that we might just want to buy a big piece of land, and
Agreed.
we might have different group of people, that there could be young group of kids which are coming, and there is a like a person who will basically, we call them the facilitator right now, but we might call them the gurus, and in our stage, and then they will give a topic, they will facilitate the discussion. The idea would be to have a debate. The idea would be to figure out problems, and then there would be a discussion on how to find solutions. And these could be any
Beautiful.
kind of problems. These could be any kind of problems. And this whole engagement can be done at a younger age. This whole engagement, and obviously they will be solving different types of problems. And then there could be a senior class that is solving different types of problems, and then there could be young adults, teenagers, that they will be solving a different type of problems. And
Yes.
that's where technology can be used. You don't have
Mm.
to find a problem with um, just a thought process, but implement something. So
Sure.
you can actually write a software, and that's where the AI will replace human beings in writing software. So you don't need me to write a software nowadays. You need me to actually give that logical thinking to AI and ask the right questions to that AI to build that software, right? And then compile everything and create an application, do deployment, implement cybersecurity and everything. But
Yes.
you can and in that system you can, like, the students will not be asked to program. Student will be enabled to ask the right questions to the AI so that the right code can be generated, and they will be taught how to put everything together. Like
Yes.
like like we put jigsaw puzzles together, we put Legos together. In that same way, everything will be put together and a system will be created to solve the problem that will be given to them. And it could be a real life problem.
Higher skill almost, isn't it?
Yeah.
And one thing is being able to actually write the software, and the other thing is being able to ask the right question and then know what to do with the solution that AI offers you. So that's very
Yes.
interesting. It's sort of a higher level, and I do feel like in like with evolution, our brains are changing.
Yeah.
Younger people, their brains are different, who are digital natives and who are very comfortable around change from a technology point of view.
Yeah.
Uh, they think differently about the world, and they think differently about solutions.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. We've had a really good discussion about all of this. I do want to ask you one thing about, and I know you said that the basis of technology is asking the logical question, getting a logical answer, right?
Yeah.
It seems quite binary in that way that
Yeah.
there's a problem and there's a solution. So where is the space for imagination in this very sort of a binary world of a problem and a solution that can, there's an easy connect to there? Is the imagination in actually finding the solution or asking the question? Where does that come in?
There is more imagination in asking that right question. So there is always going to be a why for everything, right? You want to do something, right? Even I want to build an application for placing an order for laundry, right? Why do you want to do it? Well, the reason why is because it will make life easy for people. Okay, great. That's one thing. So I can sit at home, place an order for a laundry, and somebody will come pick it up. Great.
Right.
That means I don't have to go. I'll save that time. So my why is I will save that time so I can spend more time with my family and maybe get some work done, right? Or whatever my priorities are at that stage. If you have the answer to that why question will help you enable that logical flow, right? So the imagination is the problem that you're solving. Why are you doing it? That is what you have to imagine always. There is no, your why would be different from my why. Uh,
Mm.
there is no right answer or wrong answer for why, right? You might be, and that's where imagination comes in. You might do the same thing like me, but you might do it in a different way
And for different reasons.
and for different reasons.
Yes.
Your way would be different, your reason would be different, but none of it is wrong because it is giving the same result. So
Yes.
yes, the binary steps, you might take more steps because you feel that by taking more steps, you are making difference in the life of people. And that's where your imagination is different from my imagination. I might take lesser steps because I want to get I want to get things done quickly. I might have a lesser impact in the life of that person, but I am giving him a service or her a
Yes.
service, right? So
Yes. It's
it's it's
different. Yes.
it's different. So that why question is where the imagination is.
Lovely. Beautiful answer. I do want to ask you one last question. Again, I tend to ask more philosophical questions because I think those are more universal. And of
Yeah.
course, you're doing great work with building this ecosystem for young people. And again, it sort of relates to young people and their worldview. If you were to give an advice to a young person who comes to you and say, look, there's money and that's a worthwhile pursuit because it stands for freedom, stands for choice. And
Yep.
then there's purpose, and that stands for a different set of values,
Yep.
right? Where you feel fulfilled, and it's not always, it doesn't always sort of hold hands in the right way. You could
Yep.
be very good at something but not really like it.
Yep.
You could be terrible at something like you know, so that could be your purpose. So how would you tell someone who's say 18, 19, looking for their purpose, looking for money, how do you situate this in your life?
Yep. Well, try different things, experiment. One thing that I would always give as an advice to anybody is go travel.
Mm.
So travel opens up your mind, right? And it also helps you define or sculpt you. Like, okay, I saw this somewhere. I loved what they were doing. I loved what was the impact of it. I want to do something similar, right? And obviously, when you travel, you become culturally sensitive as well. So you also understand what is that drives you, right? And what is that is something that you don't want to do. So your likes and dislikes get defined very easily, right? And that is very important for anybody. But that would be my simple advice. So trying different things. So even when we actually bring in interns, we give them experience of everything from software testing to business analysis to project management. And at the end, we ask them which part of that whole internship was the best part. They would say this was the great part, this was a good thing, this was like the best thing that I loved, right? Like I loved doing this because it was like creative juices were flowing and everything was happening. And once they actually try these different things, and I believe that's every organization's goal nowadays, you give everybody a trial of everything that your company does and let them figure out this is the best thing that I liked. And then once they try through, and then you will find good employees as well, that oh, I actually hired this person because their communication was excellent, they were able to solve that problem that I gave to them, they were able to do the core activity that I wanted to do them, and they were able to save my time. So they were self-learning, they didn't need to be a lot of handhold, there was not a lot of hand holding required. You give them a task, they completed a task with a high quality or whatever quality that you expect. Or if you told them the first time that this is the quality I was expecting, the next task they delivered was of the quality that you were expecting, then that is what helps you sculpt a new young person in joining an organization. And that's what will sculpt them as well. Like now, everybody in my office knows what they are doing. They know why they are doing it and why they love it because they went through that whole process.
Yes. So if, you know, I know you do this mentoring and all of that. If any young people are watching this and they want to get in touch with your company and they feel very inspired by what you have said, what is the best way? Do you have any like times when you look at interns? Are you taking interns now? Can they get
So
in touch?
we usually take interns on a on and off basis. So if somebody wants to reach us, they can at any time. We will tell them that the next rounds will open up on this date. We currently have two interns, but there is a space for one immediately available. We are
Wow,
not
that's
looking.
exciting.
We are not looking. We are not yet hiring anybody right now because I know that there is discussions going on with RMIT. There are discussions going on with University of Melbourne,
Sure.
and then there would be people starting in the September October cohort. So there is something. I think there is one starting in July, which is going to be running from July till September, and then the next one will be starting from September to November.
And is
So,
this only Melbourne, or are people from other cities in Australia
well,
also?
other cities in Australia, if they want proper mentoring, it would be great if they're in Melbourne, right?
Yes, of course.
Because I've tried to get people in from Sydney and Brisbane as well. There are issues in communication. There are issues in lack of motivation. It's amazing to come into the office, feel that
Yes,
environment.
sure.
We are still sort of a hybrid working environment in sense we go few days to the office, we work from home few days, 3 days in office, 2 days at home. And we are flexible about all these things. So we have enabled everybody from work from anywhere. Uh,
Great.
right. And the mentoring side of things is easier and better if they are face to face.
Absolutely.
Remote
No,
mentoring is good for a few times, and then people just lose that motivation.
yes, yes. No, it's lovely. I think it's very inspiring what you guys are doing. And um, the thing is not only looking at building your business, but also creating a next generation of people who are really using their skills in the right way
Yeah.
and to find solutions that can help
Mhm.
everybody.
Yeah.
Absolutely lovely. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been absolutely wonderful.
Thank you very much, Nandini. Thank you for having me.